Have you ever wondered what makes a good fight scene in writing? Today, we are going to discuss writing fight scenes and action scenes in our novels. So if you have one of those scenes in your book, or you're about to be writing one sometime soon in your work in progress, then make sure to listen up, because writing fight scenes and action scenes is not quite as easy as it might seem. So these are going to be a few tips that you can keep in mind as you are writing these scenes for your novels. What's really important is that a good fight scene has escalating tension, okay? So this isn't only physical. So yes, there is the physical tension of blow to blow, but there's also the internal tension of what happens if this character loses. So as you're crafting your fight scene, it is so important that you are focusing on those stakes and you're not letting them drag, because a fight scene is usually the climax of a moment. So if there's a big, huge argument and you're feeling the heat and the stakes are rising through this argument, and you can hear the back and forth of, if this doesn't happen, then this will happen, and there's the tension there, then a fight scene climaxing that really brings it to the next level. But if it's just a happy day and two guys get in a fight, that doesn't make sense. Your reader doesn't care. There's no reason behind it. So you really need to work on those stakes and make sure that your stakes are getting higher and that the tension is escalating as you're getting through that fight scene, because readers care about your character, and you want your reader to care about your character throughout the whole fight scene, so they're invested and their hearts pounding as they're waiting to see who wins the battle. And if your main character doesn't win, then what will happen? Will they lose everything they love? Will they get a setback and things won't go as they planned? So you really want to make sure that you're diving into your character motivations, and through figuring out what motivates them to win this fight, you'll really escalate the stakes, because if they're motivated by X and they don't get X through the fight, then what are they losing? A really big thing is you really want your reader to be concerned for your character's safety, because if they're concerned for your character's safety, they are going to be sitting there flipping pages because they want to see the outcome. They want to see if your main character got away, if they won the fight, or if they didn't, what happened. Another really important thing is pacing. So pacing is key in fight scenes. If you watch real fight, they don't drag. They're not sitting around waiting for them to land the next blow. It's all at once, it's chaotic, and it's aggressive. They're not sitting there waiting around. So write your scenes like that. You do not want your fight scenes to drag. And a big thing about that is using writing tricks. So a big tip for keeping your fight scenes from dragging is using short sentences. So if it's just boom, 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 then your scene is going really fast and your reader is going fast through the scene, which is what you want. Because yes, technically you could do big, huge, lengthy descriptions, but those drag the scene down. Even if it's actually fast-paced in your paragraph of descriptions, the fat paragraph slows down the pacing of the story. Isn't that weird? That's just a random writing trick. So if you're trying to do a fast-paced scene, it is super important to embrace those short sentences and get the scene moving fast through how you write it. So combine things together. Make it really layered. All your sentences need to be super layered, so that you're not spending extra words on little things. And if there's dialogue, insert it fast. Use M dashes to exhilarate the interruptions and just keep the scene moving really fast. And so a big piece of that with the pacing is how you write it. It's also super important not to give a play-by-play. I know it's hard to resist the urge, but you have to resist the urge to not give a play-by-play, because people don't actually care how your character got punched, if the blow came from the right hand or from the left hand, or how it fell. They want to be invested in a scene that's fast, that keeps them flipping pages. So you do not need to give a play-by-play, because as we just said, pacing is key, and if you're giving a play-by-play, you're bogging them down with the details. It slows down the pace of the page, and it just is harder to read. It doesn't keep you as engaged, and your goal, as we said earlier, is to keep it very fast-paced and just engaging. So giving all the details is not necessary. Now, that said, it is not a bad thing to research your scene. So as you're diving into a fight scene, it's really a good idea to look into fight scenes and watch fight scenes from movies, from competitive fighters, from people who are trying to teach you how to fight, and to learn what those moves are and to learn it so that you can visualize it in your head. Honestly, in the past for me, I've actually enjoyed writing out like a really detailed fight scene in a different piece of paper, and then I have all that as a reference. So in my mind, I have blocked it out, so I know what the characters are doing and how they're moving, so that then I don't have to be thinking about that, and then I'll go and write a really fast-paced, choppy, different fight scene. And that keeps it so that you as the author know it, you're blocking it out, you know what's happening, so that it isn't just random sentences, because that's not what I'm saying. I don't want there to be random little sentences instead of big paragraphs. You want every word to count. So by choreographing it yourself beforehand can really help so that you are able to use your character's movements to the best of their abilities. Another really important tip is don't fall into the commentator trap. So you can get really invested in your fight scene and you can feel like it's so amazing, you choreographed it beautifully, and you just want people to read your choreography. And you love how it flows, how the characters move in and out, how the blows fall, and you love your choreography. But you cannot get sucked into the commentator trap, because you do not want people reading the fight scene like a commentary. So there isn't that deep third POV where you're feeling it all together with the character and you're feeling the pain, you're feeling the adrenaline. It's just reading like a commentary, like X character did this and they rolled over the ground to reach this character and they tripped in and blah blah blah. I'm making that up, but it's that sort of idea of it's more of a commentary and somebody commentating on the scene than an actual intense fight scene. So don't get so focused on the fight details that you lose connection with the broader story. Another really important thing is research. So I said earlier about researching fight scenes and researching the choreography between them, but another really important thing to keep in mind is research what's believable for your characters. So you do want to know the ins and outs of how your character is fighting, but some of that applies to what sort of character you're dealing with. So what does your character know? What sort of character are they? What's their personality? Are they impulsive? Are they aggressive? Are they super happy and carefree? Using all those different personality traits in your fight scene will really dive it deep into the character themselves, and then just make it that much more interesting, because the character isn't getting out of character in the scene by being some burly aggressive guy if he's really lighthearted and always happy. And then focus on the characters. So if your character is a doctor, let them notice things that a doctor would notice. So if they're getting punched in the abdomen, are they breaking ribs? Can they give a scientific term for that? Are they thinking about things through a medical sense? If they're a pro fighter against an amateur, is the pro fighter noticing how amateur the other fighter's blows are? Are they noticing things in the stance? Are they a chef? Are they wishing they had a frying pan to knock the guy over the head with, like in Tangled? Obviously that's a joke, but hey, that would be a really interesting fight scene. But that sort of idea of you really want to engage your characters with their personalities, what they know, to really dive into the characters themselves and make the fight scene that much better. And then you also need to research your setting. So when you don't know your setting, it makes the scene feel really all over the place. But if you can ground your setting, it does worlds of difference, because you really want your readers to visualize where the characters are. Is the setting playing into the fight? Are they tripping over something? You really need to set that up early on. And your setting can do a lot to impact the fight. So is it rainy? Is it snowing? Is there ice on the ground? If there's ice on the ground, that's going to add a whole nother layer of complexity, because your characters are now slipping and sliding. And so diving into what makes your setting unique, and then just actually describing your setting so that your reader can visualize the characters and what's exactly happening in their heads. And then another super important thing is focus on the internal. What is the character's reaction? How do they feel? You want to describe the pain, the adrenaline, the thoughts behind each of their actions. So giving reactions can really reflect their personalities. So what are they thinking about? How do they feel? How is the pain affecting them? What are they thinking as they're losing? Are they realizing that this is hopeless, that they're going to lose everything that they love, that everything is going wrong? So really diving into their character reactions can be huge in strengthening the fight scene and really grounding it in your character. And then that also goes to what we were talking about earlier about using their profession or whatever they're good at to really ground it even more. So yes, you really want to focus on the internal. The internal is really what matters, because people get behind the characters. Yes, the fight scene, the blow by blow is really cool, but your characters are what they care about. So you really want to dive into your characters and make it really impactful and strengthen the stakes. Make it really tense so that your reader is turning pages really fast because they have to know the outcome of this fight. So you really need to research your fight scenes and then dive deep into your character's POV so that every single blow is reflecting them as a character. And another thing to remember, every fight scene should have a point in your stories. Honestly, every scene in your story should have a point in the overall plot of the story. But especially with fight scenes, people get really excited by the action and they kind of lose track of the broad story. So make sure that every single fight scene that you ever include has a point in your story. They have to build the character's arc. So main takeaways. 1. Pacing is key. You want your fight scene to feel fast-paced, and you want the adrenaline flowing, and you just need to take advantage of writing tips like short sentences to make it like that. 2. Research your fights, and then dive deep into your character's POV so that every blow is directly reflecting your character. 3. Don't fall into the commentator trap. So nobody wants to hear the details of the fight. They need a general impression to keep it flowing and to keep them turning pages. 4. It is okay to sacrifice some of the choreography to make the emotions of your character's POV stand out even more. And that is all about fight scenes. So please consider following along for more writing tips. So please leave a like and comment what your favorite fight scene is. Is it from a movie, a book? What stood out to you about the fight scene? What made it special? Why did you love it so much? What kept you turning pages? And if there's anything I missed that you want to discuss or you want to bring up, please drop it in the comments below and I'd love to continue the discussion down there. So thank you for watching and I will see you next week. And as always, stay tuned for just a few more seconds to see some fun bloopers. 3. So that you are is reflecting your character. So if you're getting punched in the abdomen,